So welcome everybody. Thank you so much for being here today. We have, I just come from the Investing in Nature panel where they were saying we are here to start a new kind of thing. And I think this is also what we're doing here. Investing for systems. Beautiful words. What does it mean? We're gonna figure it out. We're gonna try, through the great experience here, but please feel free to chip in to see what are some of the emerging practices that are creating this new ecosystem and this growing field of investing. Knowing that, hello, welcome, please come in. So I was just saying, we have a great group of people, and I'm sure many of you here that are also participating into this growing a new field of what it means to invest for system change. But before we start, we have a moment for all of you to ground and be together in what will be our system for the next 50 minutes. So thank you for being here with us.
Bàbá ẹ ṣé, mo máa dúpẹ́ òwe, ẹlẹ́rù ni o, mo máa dúpẹ́ òwe. Bàbá aláàbò ni ẹ ṣé, tí mo ní, tí mo rí, tí mo rí, tí mo rí, mo rí. Morire àbúyẹ o, ẹlẹ́rù ni o, mo máa dúpẹ́ o. Ìfẹ́ rẹ nìkan ló gbé mi ró, bàbá mo máa dúpẹ́ ire àwùyẹ o. Ìfẹ́ rẹ nìkan ló dá wa sí. Àmójúbà, àmójúbà, àmójúbà ọba tó pa mí mọ́, ẹ má ṣe.
Thank you. That's impossible to follow.
Okay. Bon, orúkọ mi ni Ìdòwú, ọmọ Akínrúlí, mo wá láti ilẹ̀ Nàìjíríà láti wá ṣe ayẹyẹ pẹ̀lú ilé yìí. Ẹ ṣé. No reply. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ìdòwú Akínrúlí. I'm from Nigeria, and I live in Brazil. I'm here with Cobra Canoa, one of the directors, and I think that's it for now. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Alina. I'm one of the founding partners of Impact Shakers Ventures.
I'm Benedikt. I'm working for Böttger Ventures, and I'm a senior scientist there.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Theresa Böttger, and I'm the co-founder and steward owner of Cobra Capital.
Thank you so much. I'm Claudia, I'm the director of Better Way Foundation. And I get the privilege of asking a few questions today. And when thinking of investing for system change, you can read many definitions, but what is always clear is that we are moving from investing in one way towards one specific point to investing across ecosystems and creating synergies. And what is so beautiful and what you are awakening us is that investing for system change by default requires that we recognize how interconnected we are to one another and to nature, and also to know that every intervention we can make can have an effect on many other people or nature or places around us. So what also seems that in reality this interconnected adds a real layer of complexity, a real label of not only talking about collaboration but orchestrating a deep level of collaboration, of togetherness, and a collaboration that is based on understanding synergies but in recognizing the importance of relations one at a time. So when you read all of this and you think of all of this, the question that came to me straight at me was like, why would you do this? Would it be easier to continue the impact investing as usual, as we know it, and why innovating and putting effort in defining new and emerging practices around investing for systems change? So I would like to ask all of you to share how you got here, what moved you and make you think that there is another way that we need to explore.
Theresa, we got this. Yes. Happy to share a bit my story because it relates very closely to the topic of systemic investing and systems change. I worked since 2007 in the middle of the financial crisis for the financial industry, many years for Deutsche Bank, and I thought I made it. That's a great career, until I realized the pillars, what it relies on, the privileges we have, the inequality it creates, the power structures it fosters, and I didn't know what to do except then leaving the system. And that's what I did, because it was really toxic, it was just extractive business models, and I didn't know anyone who showed me how to change the system from within. And it took me 2 years to realize there are people, there are tools, and there are solutions where you can create something within existing systems. And for me that's super important, to not always have an alternative besides existing things, but also to form something within a system and to take people along the way. And that's why I started Karma Capital when I met Sebastian Klein. Maybe some of you know him. And what Karma Capital is doing is we want to co-create the field of systemic investing by acting less extractive. So it's a venture capital fund, but we don't use the tools and we use different structures than classic VCs when it comes to the carry, when it comes to how we invest. And I was very happy that I could use all my knowledge for the better, hopefully, and to build things that are more systemically linked, that act within the planetary and social boundaries, and to have a transformation while using capital as a tool to get there.
Thank you. My transition is actually into finance. I have a science background, so I was pursuing an academic career in sustainability assessment. I was working on how to govern and how to measure sustainable transitions in the energy system. And about 5 years ago, I got to know one of the founders of Planet A by accident. I was not related to the finance industry at all. I was only assessing from a science background energy transitions. And then I noticed, well, this is interesting because this is what I'm doing in the university, but now this is on high speed and really trying to change things. And I'm just, okay, now I can use what I use in academia to really help guiding financial decisions and using the same methodologies. And yeah, when capital has a very catalytic impact, you can really change things, right? So I thought for myself, okay, I can continue pursuing an academic career, writing papers, teaching at university, or I could change to finance, and then I decided to change to finance. So for me, it was really, the transition was into finance. What I'm still teaching at university, enjoying this. So, but now, yeah, working at Curated, we are investing in tech companies, trying to invest in companies that help us to shape an economy within the regulatory boundaries. And I'm applying methods to assess this and to help also the ecosystem to apply more scientific and robust methods to guide these investment decisions.
Thank you. Yeah, my career is also out of the very traditional financial system. I started working for PwC, doing mostly going into companies, doing big change and transformation projects, going in as interim finance director, advisor to the board, transformation director, often working for private equity-owned companies, and I've always felt like I was doing all the work. They got to make all the decisions, so that's where I went, joined a private equity firm, a US firm investing in B2B SaaS companies to look after their European portfolio, and really loved working with these fast-growing companies on everything from strategy to go-to-market, product, people, but very quickly realized that I could go an entire week without seeing another woman, many weeks without seeing any other type of diversity, and also had a couple of experiences where I brought up, back then, ESG in a board meeting and pretty much got laughed out of the room. So I thought, okay, I can now try to spend the next 10 years trying to slowly and painfully nudge things from the inside or do something myself. I'm not the most patient person, so I took my own money and I started to angel invest, predominantly in, at that point, female impact entrepreneurs. Through this, built a portfolio of just phenomenal founders, and it sort of opened my eyes to the idea that you could use entrepreneurship as a force for good while still having profitable business models that generate great returns. Through this, met my now partner in the fund, Jotja Blackman, who had been building impact shakers since 2018, to be an ecosystem, an impact ecosystem across Europe. And then we joined forces to set up, until now, 2 instruments, hopefully many more. One is a microfund, which is set up as a cooperative, so it's very community-led investing with a lot of flexibility. The other one is an impact VC fund. And I would say the system that we are working on is entrepreneurship itself, by actually changing who gets to build businesses, for what purpose, and how they build them.
Yeah, okay. Well, since yesterday I've been hearing about financing and talking about the nature, talking about the ecosystem and so on and so forth. And I'm so glad that's going on and this meeting is holding, and I hope you can come along with this that I'm going to say right now. Most of us here, we work studying or making ways on how to finance and how to maintain this, or better still, make the world better, right? And make it a better place. And we trying to sustain the nature and that end. But I'm saying today that this nature is, I think, we still see it like as something very far. Like, we want to take care of the nature, the Amazon, the water, what you call water. In my land, it's called life. The trees, they are called lives. The plants, everything, each particles of the nature, they are lives. So I don't know if I could communicate it better, but we don't look at other things, but it's part of us. Yeah, it's part of us. Since when we were born, or to date, we still take care of it in many ways. Traditional ways, spiritual ways, and other ways that we get, with the pressure we're having from outside, we still keep the nature. So that's what I want you to understand. What Cobra Canoa is doing is bringing this, how will I say, bringing this life back in another way, not just investing and just try to, let's keep people there. No, we're keeping there, not only people, but we're bringing back these lives gradually with a lot of projects that I don't need to keep mentioning because I've had a lot today of different kinds of projects being done. And I think that's it. Let's think about lives and not about the project. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think then the next question is, how is life at the center of your investment for system change? How are you creating new models and practices that put life with a big L at the center?
I can start again. I think that's a very, very good question, because we are so focused on our projects, on our daily work, and for us, we identified steward ownership as one of the structures which enables us to go beyond just one system, because usually a company is focused on profit maximization, revenue generation, and the revenues usually go either to the shareholders or to the business partners. But what we like about the concept of steward ownership, talking about life in a way of trees, of water, that those companies usually have a very strong mission, and their revenues are tied to their mission. So after costs, those go, like Ecosia, if you know the green search engine, this goes to the life of the trees by planting trees. And other companies have a purpose that have a social purpose. So there are all kinds of different purposes, and the whole steward ownership ecosystem helps to grow this kind of life, if you want to define it by that, by using the revenues after costs. They are for profit, but profit for purpose. So there's always a confusion if we support charity companies. We do not. Those are regular companies who make revenues, but they use it for a higher purpose than just for profit maximization or improving their sales or marketing. So this is one big area where I believe life, so society and people become more and more part of the system, benefiting from the capital as a tool that we can use. Maybe I leave it here. I think I could say even more about it, but I will give it to you.
We have a very strong environmental focus, looking into biodiversity, climate change, resource use, water use, and so on. And I think all of those things are the ultimate foundation of our existence, right? So we are part of the system. We're not excluded from this, right? So our lives and economic system is, this is the foundation of all of it. So that's why we assess everything thoroughly before investing and seeing how we can reverse the current trends, right? Because when climate change is clear, we're also facing a biodiversity crisis, which is accelerating. The extinction rates are as high as the last time we measured hit this planet. So we are accelerating towards a cliff. And the question is not, can we do things a little bit better, but we have to really find solutions that systemically change the direction we're going. So I think that's our approach from an environmental perspective, to find solutions that systemically act in a way that they can reverse the trajectory that we are going.
I think we have a very small subset of financing instruments required to drive systems change on stage, at least on this side, right? So for us, it's basically there are many different levels to this, right? But one level is who we work with, who gets to build companies, who gets to invest, who gets to make the decisions. So it's really thinking about putting capital in the hands of a very diverse group of people that bring lived experience. Could be professional, could be personal, whatever it is, but a really deep understanding of what they're trying to change and how they're serving the communities that they're working for, rather than sort of us trying to be the ones who know it all and who solve all of these issues. So really enabling diverse founders to build in the way that they want to build, that they need to build for their communities. And then the other aspect is as well to look at all these different instruments, looking at venture capital, for example. I don't think fundamentally venture capital as an instrument is broken, but maybe it's much more about who gets to use it and how we're using it and what we're using it for, right? So really thinking about how we can take what exists and use it in different ways with a different intention. But then also thinking about how we can build this out into what ultimately should become an impact asset manager that has different types of instruments for different types of impact projects, ventures, whatever they are, to help them scale in a way that actually matches where the capital matches the solution.
I'd just like to contribute something as Better Way Foundation. We are initiated together with the We Share Forward Foundation, based in the Netherlands, and the Climate Farmers, the European Agri-Food Co-Funding Alliance. The name is very catchy, but this is it's a group of funders, from philanthropy to more institutional investors, who are coming together to fund the transition towards agri-food systems that are more based on living systems. And this is informed by the work of a think tank of 30 leaders, but starting very much with farmers, going up to supermarkets, that together are imagining this theory of transformation from their experience. And then, in that way, they are influencing the financing, the investment thesis of the co-funding group. And this experiment has been going on for about 6 months, with a great group of people coming together. And what I have noticed in this great, very interesting, fun effort is that it requires a lot of work, that we have lost the natural ability of collaborating on the long run, and then also defining when is my piece starting and when is it ending? What is the role that everybody is playing? And how can we really make it dynamic enough, but clear enough for different kind of investments, different kind of financing mechanism to come together to invest for system change. So this is my reflection, and I was wondering, what is your reflection on the how that it needs investment and sometimes lots of invisible work? We were talking about it before. Where are the difficulties that are really much about the relational piece that you see in your work? Maybe you also have something to say about how we collaborate as humans or not.
Okay. That reminds me of one story I would like to share with you guys. But I would like you to repeat this word. ED. Ita. Oshi. Okay, what's the first one? Second? Ita. Okay, second one again? And the third one? Okay. These three trees. They were in the community and facing a lot of problems. um, they're scared of their lives because of many issues going on around them. And they went to a priest to ask, we want to have long life. We don't want to die young, and we don't want to become any other furnitures or stuff like that. But how can we do it? Then the priest gave them the things they have to do so they can live longer. He said, it's too expensive. How will I use this, and this just to have long life? I won't do anything. Ita, same thing. This man, I think he does it. This priest is just trying to pull our legs. Oshi, it's a bit okay. Let's go. Oshi did all the things the priest requested, and some years later, these farmers came and they're looking at the trees, they're looking at things. We need wood for fire, for other things. What can we do? They saw it. This tree is very big and fine. Should give us a very good wood. Then they started cutting it. They use it for furnitures, for fire and other things. Ita, same thing. But with the process O'Shea did, they couldn't cut O'Shea. When they got there, O'Shea too is very, very big and fine. How can we get trees even bigger than other trees there? So when they tried to cut it, it just turned into, it's just like dust. You couldn't try, nothing. The priest was passing. What are you doing there? Is this true? We have been trying to cut it and nothing coming out from it. This is O'Shea. You can't use it for anything. You can't use it for drum. You can't use it for firewood, for furniture, for nothing. So we just leave O'Shea. And since then, nobody touches O'Shea. O'Shea is also known as Baobab. I don't know if you all know this name of this tree. Baobab is a very important tree for all of us, for the planet. It's the one that helps to keep water when there's flood and everything, and later when everything is drying up, and you just release for the other plants to grow. It's one of the plants that helps, of the trees, that helps nature to keep water. It's natural. You don't need to keep it in a garden in a later point. No, it's already there. But the pity here today in Vienna, we don't have O'Shea. Do we have O'Shea? But there was O'Shea long time ago. If you check other countries, other places, today we can find O'Shea in many countries in Africa and also in Brazil. I've been doing some research, but I don't know if you have it in other places in the world. But what is O'Shea? Is it that tree that can be touched? No. O'Shea are the indigenous who have been keeping everything till now. We are O'Shea. We are O'Shea. We are just begging not to let the capitalists come and take O'Shea away, because it's already done in other places, and we have few time, very little, before that happens in Amazonas. Bu is from one of the people, indigenous people in Amazonas, and today I think they are running out of time with the contract they have with the government for 30 years just to have that place safe. And once it's over, that land may be gone. We have been doing everything to keep that land, to save it through Cobra, Canoa and other projects we are doing, to try to fund and try to convince the government that these people have been there for a long time and they can sustain Oshi. They can maintain Oshi. So it's not about just investing, but it's about investing in the right people, right place, and think fast. It's not for next tomorrow. It's now. Because if you don't do it now, I don't think if our grandchildren will be able to see something very soon. Okay.
Thank you. Again, pretty hard to follow, but I'll try. So we had a bit of an analogy yesterday during the dinner that we're heading towards a brick wall at 300 km an hour, and if we slow down a little bit, still we'll probably still die. And there was something about sort of the phases of impact investing, how we went from an obsession of whether you can combine impact and returns to an obsession over whether we can measure impact properly, to now this sort of hopefully phase of systemic investing, the new era of investing that we're trying to usher in today. I think one of the biggest problems I see is that with all of these phases, we've spent a lot of time sitting in rooms discussing them. And I don't think that's how we save the trees. I don't think that's how we usher in the new wave of investing. So I think there is a little bit of all of us engaging our inner activists and actually doing something, and maybe not looking for the ones that have 20 years of experience of doing systemic investing, because that's the track record we need to back. But just getting together, a bit like what you're doing with the Alliance, what we're doing with the microfund, with the investors in our fund as well, getting together people who are willing to try out different things, different types of capital, different types of investment, different ways of working together, collaborating together. So I think this is one of the issues I see as we sit here today, but then also one of the things that I would wish to see more of.
Yeah, I think oftentimes, I think humanity in general spend a lot of time on understanding climate change, telling people climate change is happening, and we didn't dedicate enough time to think about how we can change the system. So we have more and more studies coming up. I mean, climate change is real, everybody knows that it's happening. And I think we should have spent more time in the last 20 years to think about how the system can be changed, right? So we can have more studies, more IPCC reports telling us what's happening or how our biodiversity is lost. The question is, how do we change this, right? And this is, I think, goes well beyond just identifying as an investor what to invest in or what people to invest in. It's way beyond this, right? Because there's policy, there's the public, there's so many actors in the system that need to change. And the question is, how do we change this? And I think this is the biggest question mark that we're all facing. And I wish people would dedicate more time on this, right? And seeing the positive things of what world can we create, actually. It's not just doomerism, okay, we're all doomed, climate change is happening, so what is the world we imagine and how do we get there, right? What levers do we have to pull? What things do we have to change and how do we change them? I think this is, yeah, I hope where we've spent more time on thinking about.
Hard to follow on all those progressive, nice thoughts. I can totally rely on you that there are so many pioneering solutions. And there are many zeros, how we call it, people who build something without a track record, but just because they're intuitively right. But it's equally important that we have the ones, not just the first mover, but the first follower. Because you can't start a movement without the right follower, with the right talent. Not everyone has maybe the courage, the money, the privilege, the background to start something. But there are tools, there are people that you can follow, and you are needed. And we need you to join our movements, our communities, and our ideas. And what also came to my mind when I think about the 0-1 game, I had this discussion this morning, maybe you know this one guy on a meadow who starts to dance all alone, and he's been looked at like super weirdly, and then there's the first follower, and then there's the second follower, and then the whole like crowd is dancing, and if he had started, no one would have danced in the end. And I would love to have this joyfulness of like dancing, connecting, feeling, being transferred to the financial part. And our heart is really, maybe that's not an intuitive link to you, but I believe that this joy and community has been lost due to this massive inequality of privileges, of wealth. We are in Germany at the year 1870 when it comes to inequality, and therefore people struggle more and more to identify with others, because it's more like comparing to others. What are they having? What are we having? And I would love to be us all more on the same meadow, dancing together and having less differences and sharing our ideas really decentralized.
Thank you so much. We have time for some questions. If anybody would like to, or reflections.
Yeah, thank you so much for your inspiring updates. I'm Marina Heiden, founder of Donut Tweet. I have a question because I'm a little bit new to the venture capital space. I want to understand this group of systemic strategy thinkers. How small are you? Like, how big is the problem? How much work do we need to do so that you actually become a meaningful part of this ecosystem?
I can start here. I believe it was very important to have, first of all, the companies who start to rethink, to build businesses differently. And now we're getting to the capital part, and we're definitely still in the niche to have those funding solutions. And for us, it's really important to show there's something beyond philanthropy and profit maximization. And I see different solutions in different countries. And that is something we need to align as well. There are really cool solutions, but you then have the country legislation, which might prevent you from building certain structures. And in my opinion, I'm always happy with anyone that is willing to co-invest with us in those fields, because we need more people who copy like our model or other models, and to make the space even bigger. I think we're at the point where it's become where it's definitely relevant, but there's a lot of room to grow, according to me.
I would maybe love to challenge the question a little bit, because I think it puts us into, we love putting things into boxes, right? It's easy to understand, it's a nice little box. So there is traditional investing, there's sustainable and responsible, sustainable impact, philanthropy. I think actually the fact that sort of it goes from impact to philanthropy is not helpful, but if we think about sort of going on the spectrum from impact to systemic investing, I think it then no longer is another point on the spectrum. I think it is something that goes through everything, that infuses everything else. So are there many VC funds that at this point take a systemic approach? Maybe not, but also if you look in the traditional VC space, more and more of them are going in the direction of actually building companies for longer, rather than just getting involved in the early stages, getting a big enough share and hoping that it is the unicorn, actually being much more involved across the entire sort of life cycle, right? Same with different types of financial instruments. I think to drive systemic change, things need to happen in the traditional stock market. They need to happen in venture capital, they need to happen in all parts of the system. So I think it's much more about sort of the mindset shift and maybe looking at the existing instruments a little bit differently, and then all of a sudden you have a massive universe of people that we can work with, right?
I'm just going to add, it is a growing real field. There was a twist was created a bit out of the tonic and catapult word to create actually a community of practice around system change. Together with Transcap, it's the second year that they do a summit in London. This year the number of people doubled. That is all about what investing for system change means. CSP, the Center for Sustainable Philanthropy and Finance in Zurich, just released a study about what investing for system change is. So there is growing literature and case studies about it. I think it's also, when you were talking about the meadow, you know, sometimes when I talk about what we're doing with the food systems, everybody says, oh, you know, there is already somebody doing that. And I'm like, great! You know, it's like how we are not competing now to do the best things, but how we need to do as many practices and examples as possible so that this becomes meaningful. Thank you. Any other questions?
Hi, thanks. My name is Jess Blakers, I'm co-founder of Enough Consulting. I have a reflection and a question. The reflection is, I was trying to listen in everything that you were saying, what is the system that we're trying to change, and do we name it? And it sort of pops out, but I think it's something that as kind of people who are trying to bring about systemic change, we really sometimes shy away from what is actually the system that we're trying to change. And for me, it's very much a system that is obsessed on growth, right? That's why they were cutting down the trees, and that's why. And I wonder if there's, so that's kind of the reflection on it, and also challenging the fact that there might not be a lot of research on it, because I think there's a huge amount of research that is happening in that field, but we're not hearing it on purpose because it's the system maintaining itself, right? That's a reinforcing loop. So that was my reflection. And my question, because you work with a lot of startups and organizations that are trying to do this work, do you have a sense about what kind of organizational culture do these organizations, in your opinion, have a specific organizational culture in order to do the systemic change work, which is maybe around, you know, listening, collaboration, learning together, that might be different from other companies you've worked with?
For us, this is even something that we have in our investment principles, that we look for specific criteria of types of organizations, types of cultures that are built around kindness, around also a degree of vulnerability, to acknowledge that maybe you don't know everything and you do need to work with others, and also the collaboration aspect. And collaboration not in the sense of we put each other's logos in our decks and say, great, we're partners, but actually true collaboration and moving things forward. So I think you're totally onto something. It's super important.
I think also that collaboration is necessary to succeed, right? So for us, it's also talking to people and understanding how do they collaborate, how do they go beyond what they're doing. And they have to change a lot beyond their own businesses. So I think that's why it's important to understand, do they see what they want to change, and do they have any idea how to get there, and the people to interact with. So I think it's really part of the seeing if these people have the right ideas and supporting them to do so.
Just one thing to add, I like the name of your startup, and I totally agree with the collaboration part, and that you need a lot of intrinsic motivation, but at the same time I also totally believe that our growth thinking is the major problem, and that it's also important to integrate new mechanisms and rules like multiple caps in the system, because you never know who will be the next CEO or the next company owner, and to also include it just by default in the structures, because in the end, the more revenues you make, the more they flow back to your business model. So I know it's not always nice to have regulation, but to have like a combination of intrinsic and extrinsic incentives.
One question? Oh, there's two questions. Great, please. Sorry.
Hi, thank you so much for the discussion. My name is Magda Krikovic. I'm representing Impact Europe, an association. I was wondering, I think that the future is bright, looking at how full this room is and how much this topic has attracted attention. I would love to understand from your, let's say, investment risk profile, because how I imagine, as a layman, how I imagine the systemic change is essentially looking for disruption, not for intrinsic innovation, in a sense. So how do you reflect on in your strategy, as you say, in your investment thesis and so on? How are you finding those disruptors that will be really changing the system, and how are you including this risk profile in your investment portfolio? Thank you.
I think it's again a combination of what we have learned and what we need to unlearn. We have learned a lot about not just like growth, but like long-term survival. Like, is this company going to survive in the long term? Will it be competitive? This will always be important, even if it's just organically growing or have a lower growth. While at the same time, you develop a feeling of people who are just visionaries and at the same time are able to deliver what they promise. So I think it's a combination of, you have to look at KPIs, you have to understand politics, geopolitics, markets, inflation, whatever. So it's this hard facts that will not go away. But if you want to disrupt it, you also need to have a connection to people, understand what thrives them, what is their motivation, what is also their ability to deliver. And this is something that I think you cannot have a hard KPI on. It's something you need to experience, that you need to learn over time and maybe learn together with them. That's at least how we approach it quite successfully so far, but probably there are different approaches to get there.
Okay. I think you asked about looking for disruptors and the risk of it, right? So I think this is very deeply embedded in what venture capital is, right? It's looking for disruptors, it's looking for taking early risks and hoping that it will change things completely. So I think as one of the vehicles, it's probably a good match. It can't be the only vehicle. There will have to be many other things. And I think the more than maybe, or as much as looking for the types of businesses that we invest in, so that solutions, not sticking plasters, or all of that stuff, right? It's also about thinking how we then support them. So what do we need to do on the lobbying? Do they need to get into the media? Do we need to make sure that there is, I don't know, a Netflix series about it at some point? Like, all of these different aspects of helping them scale and helping them drive the behavioral shift that we need.
Yeah. Okay, for Cobra Canoa, we have very low risks. Because we don't work with people that doesn't know what it's gonna be or what we are doing, and we don't work with just I'm from so group and that's it, and no, we don't work with that person because it's just from that group. We work with the leader of the group, so the person responsible for the community, and with that. We have very low risk of any issue or any problem, because I don't know how the system works here, but it's just like the president. You're working with the president of that community, so he has the right. He has the responsibility of taking care of everybody through the investment that comes with it. That's it.
Thank you. I'm sorry, we need to close, but please come up here and we'll hear your question as we close.
I just wanted to follow up on the previous reflection and turn it into a question, a bit provocative, I would say, and ask you to really name the system that you're trying to change. And I'm wondering whether the system you're thinking about is capitalism, and if so, what is systemic investment aiming for? Are you envisioning a post-capitalist world or just a new form of capitalism? Yeah, that's it.
I think that's an interesting question. Yeah, I think when the same thing when I hear the system capitalism, let's change it, let's move, and then I think I said that at the beginning, right? About what you see and what we see. It's more about that. It's not good or bad. It's not yes or no. We don't have that in my culture, in our culture. Like, you can only be A or B. No. They are all other way we can do it. So they are not our enemy, let's start with that. But they are people that we know we have to educate them so that they can have a mind about the nature and start to invest in the right places and don't don't pollute the hands or your system, and that's it.
Thank you. Next year we do a panel on that. Okay, thank you. I'm really so sorry. We really have to close. I just really want to thank everybody for being here, for your great participation, and this wonderful group of pioneers for sharing their stories. And if you have more questions, come up. We'll be out here for a couple of minutes.
Okay. I give you 3 names. You don't have forgotten. What's the first one?
Idi.
And the second one? Ita. Okay, the third one?
Oshe.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, so everybody can go to Nigeria now and just say these 3 words. Thank you very much.